Let's check out today's conversation. Mike sits down with Regional Agency Director Corey Hulsey. We get to hear Corey's entire journey as a football player, from joining and then getting cut from the Buffalo Bills.
So I get the phone call the next day, your life's over, you're cut.
To finding himself stuck in a truck driving job.
I'm like, why do I even want to go back and play football now? I'm making $1,600 a week, driving this truck, I'm home every night.
And to crafting a mindset that would transform his life on and off the field.
Coach looks at me and he said, here's your opportunity. Never played it before. I feel like I'm a 2-year-old again. Then I start 8 games.
All of this coming up next on the Level Up Lifestyle.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Level Up Lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sheets, coming to you from the Globe Life Studios in McKinney, Texas. And with me here today, I have a very special guest. He is a 7-year NFL veteran, 4-year starter for the Oakland Raiders, the Buffalo Bills, and the Detroit Lions, Mr. Corey Hulsey. Welcome, Corey.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. In addition to your professional resume, Corey, you're also you're pretty good in the insurance business as well, right? You've worked your way through the ranks, and you're a top agent at Globe Life. You've written over $1 million in production in a year, which is a huge accomplishment. For the people listening that aren't quite sure, that is pretty much elite of the elite, right? To be able to do that. And you've already blown past that this year. You know, I think we're on pace for an even better year.
Yes, sir.
So it's just exciting to kind of see, you know, you've made this transition from the NFL to the insurance business to being a top performer here. And just want to kind of unpack that a little bit and talk about how you got from there to here and everything in between. So, let's just start from the beginning. Where are you from? Where were you born and raised?
Born and raised in Lula, Georgia. It's a little dot on the map above Gainesville, Georgia. So we're about an hour and a half northeast of Atlanta.
Okay.
I've lived there all my life. Now we live on the family farm, and so sort of just set up our homestead there. So getting to raise, Corey and I are getting to raise Shirley there. That's very special to me.
Yeah, kind of same area.
Yeah, it's like right across the road from where I grew. So this whole stomping ground, Shirley's getting to experience like I did as a child.
That's cool.
But went to North Hall High School, graduated there, and then went into Clemson. Went to Clemson, then on into the NFL. But we.
So when you're in high school, when did you kind of realize that, hey, there might be something here from like a athletic standpoint? I'm sure you were probably taller and bigger than most of your classmates, right? Was there ever a time where you're like, hey, I think I could do this in college and then maybe go to the pros? Or, what was that kind of mindset like for you at that time?
My freshman year in high school, or the summer of my going into my sophomore year, I started getting letters.
Okay.
So Georgia, Notre Dame.
So you were a starter all 4 years in high school?
Yeah, my high school was very small. We were 33 deep.
Okay.
33 total, and so we played both ways. Off. I came off. I always tell everybody the only time I came off the field was for punt and punt return.
Wow.
Kick. I was even on kickoff. So we had 33 guys. My senior year, I think we had maybe 50. So it was. But when my junior, so I started getting letters going into my sophomore year from colleges, and I'm like, and it still didn't dawn on me at this time that I would watch college football, but I was more into hunting and fishing on the weekends, making money, so we'd go out and do things. But Coach Lofton, who was our coach freshman, sophomore, and junior year, he retired, and then Coach Golden came in. Well, some guys on his coaching staff had played at Georgia. And so more letters. Then I started doing visits. I'd taken a visit to Georgia, I'd watched the spring game. And
was it exciting? Were you thinking, man, this would be really cool to do this? Or was it just, I don't know if I could do that? Or what were you thinking when you would go?
Well, it was overwhelming. You're seeing these, you're seeing these guys that are finely tuned athletes standing there, and you're like, man, am I really ready for this?
And you're in small town Georgia, where you're coming from, right?
Small town, AAA high school. Going to a 5-star college, visiting like Georgia at the time.
It was 11-man football, though, right? Yeah,
it was 11-man. Yes, and so Coach Thompson, who was my line coach my senior year, my defensive line coach, he says, when we started getting into region, we changed regions. So we went from AAA to Quad A. He said, okay, big boy. He said, you're about to see if you're college material. This is really going to define if you're ready for the next level. And, during those games, had great games. Of course, our senior year, we finished 6-4, but it was at that moment, and then I signed with Clemson that year. But it was just
that was your junior year where you declared?
No,
your
my
year?
senior year.
Senior year.
It was February of 1995 was when I signed the letter of intent with Clemson.
So I'm sure there's a lot of Georgia fans that want to know why'd you pick Clemson over Georgia, especially you grew up in Georgia. If I'm hitting a bad spot, let me know.
No, there were some coaches at Georgia that when I visited there that I saw as like, if I have to play, I will not go any further if I were to come to Georgia. I like Georgia. I like Coach Goff, but he had some coaches under him that I did not want to play for.
Wow.
And then
was that the coaching style or philosophy, or just you didn't felt like you fit with what they were doing?
It was the coaching style.
Okay.
And it was grabbing the face mask, jumping up and down, hooping and hollering, and then Coach West and Coach Latina, who was my line coach at Clemson, they come in and prayed about it and felt good. And I'll never forget, I was getting ready to get on a plane to go to Michigan the next day.
To go to Ann Arbor and check out
Ann Arbor, check out University of Michigan. And I called him and canceled it and said, I'm signing with Clemson. So after, I had a great visit with Coach Latina, Coach West, and that wasn't the first time we'd met, but knowing he was a local guy, that made me feel good, comfortable. The whole family, we prayed about it, and it just hit me the next morning that Clemson was the place that I wanted to be, and hit the ground running.
There you go.
After that,
so you make this transition, and now you're at Clemson. Are you starting your freshman year, or what was that transition into college football like, coming out of a small high school?
It was overwhelming. I didn't think I'd made the right decision.
Just from the team perspective?
From the level, just the level that they were. You had we were a run the ball team.
Okay.
I'd never taken
in high school.
Okay. All we did was run the ball. We didn't throw the ball hardly at all. And then you go to a team to where we're doing one-on-ones, and I look like I don't know what you call it, but I was stumbling, bumbling, and that you've heard that Chris Berman say that in football, but I was all over the place. I'd never taken a pass set in my life. And so for my first year, I was doing that on the side, getting better at taking
learning
pass sets, learning how to pass protect. Because I'd always play tackle. Well, then they moved me to guard. So I started
left side or right side?
Left side.
Okay.
So my freshman year, I didn't redshirt. Was on the right, and I started one game. The right tackle went down, started at right tackle, and then that spring they moved me inside the left guard, and so that's where I finished out.
What was the college experience like, being a starter or being on the football team at a major university, coming from a small town? I'm sure that also probably added to maybe that overwhelming feeling, or
well, it was. You when you go from a 33 deep football team to over 100 standing on the sidelines. I mean, it was. You felt good about it knowing you're from a small hometown, and nobody at my high school at that time had ever gotten a scholarship.
Wow.
In football.
Yeah.
Now, Jody Davis went to my high school. He was a famous baseball player. Yeah. But in football, I was the only one. There was only one other one. You may know this name, Moonpie Wilson. He was from Hall County.
Okay.
And he played for the Bengals, the Seahawks. He retired from there. But so knowing I had those guys, or Moonpie, I didn't play Jody. I played baseball. But going to being a starter at a Division I college, a major university, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Going on from the little hometown you're from.
So it really, maybe you're even thinking like there's got to be a ton of work that you put in high school or before high school just to get to that point, right? And so was it, this is kind of where you think it's going to go? Or when did you start thinking that this can, like, I might be able to go to the NFL? What was that like when you had those thoughts?
That was at the end of my sophomore year, going into my junior year. That's when you're able to having agents talk to you.
Okay.
And after games, you would have this. There's a certain area you would go to, and there would be agents in there.
Really?
So you would have the chaperone from the team say, "Hey, so and so's here to talk to you. You know, they'd like to, talk to you and discuss about your future with in the NFL and things like that." And then whenever, so at the end of my junior year, they always come out and tell you what you're projected to go. And then there's a report. I can't remember it now because that's been many moons ago. But I was projected. So they fire Coach West, and they bring Tommy Bowden in.
Why'd they fire him? Was it the team wasn't doing well at that time, or just a philosophy change? Or?
I just think we had a 3-8 season, and that's just the major college. That's something that they don't accept that. But I mean, we had first year was I think 9-5, and 2 Gator Bowl and 2 Peach Bowls, and then you have one bad year and you're done.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is. I mean, it's just life. It's cutthroat. And so that happens, and so I'm like, well, I don't want to, knowing what Tulane's style of offense was, it was 250, 260-pound offensive linemen, maybe 290, and our average starting offensive line that I played with at Clemson was 320.
Wow. So
you're going from a zone scheme to where we were a man zone or more of a power scheme to that, and I'm like, well, if I'm projected 3rd round to go to the NFL, I mean,
and you have to change the whole way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, so if I can make this transition and do it, let's go. So I left there. I left projected, and then I go start training in Atlanta with Chip Smith for the combine. Go to the combine, everything's going good. Then we have our pro days, and I may be getting too far ahead of the game, but then the draft comes first weekend in April, and it's different than it is now. It was 2 days. It was Saturday and Sunday.
Do the whole thing, and that's it.
The whole thing. Family's there, projected to go 3rd round.
They have the TV, like live look-in at your house and all that and everything?
No cell phones at this time.
Sure.
It was only house phones. You had pagers and stuff. But
so nobody can be online during the draft on the weekend.
No.
We need that phone line clear.
Nobody making phone calls because we didn't even have call waiting at that time.
Sure.
This is back in the day. I'm telling my age here. But so sat there for 2 days, nothing, seeing all these guys go. 1st round, 2nd round. I knew I wasn't going 1st or 2nd round. 3rd round gets around. You're getting that.
Did you know? You're thinking like, hey, some of these teams need a left guard, or they need an offensive lineman. Maybe the Rams will pick me up, or the Bears, or like, are you kind of thinking that as? And then
because this whole time you've got Mel Kiper, Chris Berman, all those guys saying, okay, well the Eagles are coming up. They're looking at left guard. Well, here's
you're on that list,
and I'm on the list.
Yeah,
and nothing, crickets.
So what? How did that feel? That coming into the draft, what were you feeling? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Did you think there was a chance you wouldn't get drafted, or were you sure that probably 3rd, maybe 4th round? What are you feeling at the start Saturday morning?
Saturday morning, I'm feeling like, okay, nothing's going to happen today. I don't even know why I'm going to watch today, but we will.
Yeah.
Because it was 1st round, 2nd round on the first day.
Okay.
And then it was the rest of the day.
But you knew something was going to happen Sunday then.
I'm sitting there hoping, so you don't sleep all night Saturday night. You get up, you're like, okay, it's starting. And then as the time clicks by, 12 hours goes by and your name's not called. So you can just feel the air being let out of you.
Sure.
So you've got everybody around. You've got family, friends around you, and a
little cheese tray and some balloons. The whole thing.
And it never happened. And so then I'm like, I'm deflated. I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do now?
Well, how does that when you're watching the draft on TV, and I don't know if your agent is calling you saying, hey, keep an eye out for Philadelphia or keep an eye out for Chicago, right? And then you're seeing them talking about it, and you're on that list, and then they walk up to the podium, and you're thinking, okay, maybe this is it. And then they call a cornerback from Arizona State or something like that. How did that feel? Like,
my agent was with me.
Oh,
so he was there.
Gotcha.
And it was so that made me feel a little bit better at the time.
Sure.
The agent was there, but he's like, okay, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Well, then it didn't happen, and so we get to the last. Mr. Irrelevant gets picked.
Yeah.
The guy that goes to Disney World every year.
Right.
And then, so I'm sitting there, all the air let out of me, and everything's going on in the room, and I'm like, okay, what just happened? I'm done, because I didn't know anything about free agency at this point.
It's draft or that's
draft or nothing, or draft or go home. And
did your agent have like 32 hats in the trunk of his car or something, so that you put on the team hat and then you take the picture?
Yes, he did.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
but that never happened.
Right.
So the phone, you go from crickets to the phone starts ringing.
Okay.
Well, the first team that calls is Buffalo. Hey, we want to sign you rookie contract, as an undrafted free agent. And I'm like, no, not really interested in that. I don't want to go to Buffalo, New York. So my agent, he's in the bathroom at this time. And he comes out and he's like,
Who was that?
Who was that? What just happened? You don't tell them no.
Yeah.
You take the first call you get. It's like, if it's Denver, Baltimore, whoever, yes, sir, I'll be there. Here's where I fly out of. We're there.
Is that because you don't know if there'll be a second call or?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know if it's going to be, if you're going to get a second call or not. So then we call them back. Sorry, rookie mistake, didn't know that was what was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Sign with them. Well, then the phone calls and it's Carolina calls, and then Atlanta calls after that and says, sorry, we already signed with Buffalo.
You look at your agent saying, I would have rather been at Carolina or Atlanta, right?
Yeah, in the
a little less snowy.
Yeah, a little less far from home, and not as expensive in Carolina as it's going to be in New York. But so a little bit of air starts coming back into you. So we go to, it comes, sign, go to the first mini camp. Everything's going good, and it's just like I go from high school to college. I'm feeling the same way when I go from college to the pros.
Just
I felt like overwhelmed, felt like I'd never played a snap of football in my life.
Wow.
First person I line up against is Bruce Smith. That I don't have to, his name speaks well for itself, and I'm like, is this really happening? Is this me? And he I didn't even,
did he shake your hand, say, hey, rookie, welcome to the NFL, or just beat you?
He don't say anything. He didn't talk. He just lined up because you had Bruce Smith on my left and then you had Ted Washington on my right. Wow. So he's just a mountain among men. And
is Jim Kelly still the quarterback?
No, it was Alex Van Pelt, Rob Johnson, and Doug Flutie. Oh, yeah. So Alex, someone, Hut, I didn't even move out of my stance, and Bruce was by me. So then I've got the Carl Mock on me. He was our coach at the time. So it gets better. Of course, you acclimate real quick. You get the jitters out. It's like playing your first game in college. You feel the same way of the first snap of practice, much less a game. So go through training camp. That's the first mini camp. Then you have your June camp right before training camp. And then, of course, you report July 26th. And we go to Fredonia College, and the pads come on, and it's live bullets everywhere. So you get your feet under you, and we play 3 preseason games, and I got released on the third one.
Did you play in the preseason games?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Played a little bit in the first one, pretty good bit in the second one. I didn't play in the third, and I'm like,
you figured,
okay, I see the writing on the wall here. I'm about to be a petroleum engineer, is what Carl Mott called it.
Isn't that the old adage when you're worried about getting cut is when the coach stops talking to you?
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't get any playing time. He stops talking to you. We're moving our focus over here. You're on the short list.
Yeah.
So I get the phone call the next day. Your life's over. You're cut. And so I go home. I didn't do anything for a couple weeks.
Do you think part of the reason why that you got cut at that time was just the transition from the NCAA to the pros was so big? The playing style, you just weren't ready for that yet? Because you went on to be a starter, so you figured it out. But what do you think caused that moment, or just a bunch of small things?
Well, I think that looking back now to how things progressed after that, you got a lot of practice reps my first year, but the years after that, you got a lot of reps.
Yeah.
And just the more repetition you could have, of course, it's like selling insurance. I don't even have a brochure with me now. I can tell you every verbatim, every word on the cancer policy. I don't need it.
The more you do something, the better you get at it.
Yeah. So just from the lack of reps and then definitely not getting in any games. So if you're not playing and putting any film out there, not much less is Buffalo going to keep you, but the other 31 teams can't see what you can do either.
Yeah.
So you're the whole time you're under a microscope. That we always said the big eye in the sky don't lie, because it sees everything you do. So when you're not putting out any film, you go from the first game, I may have played 5 snaps, the second game maybe 12, because it depends on how the game's going in preseason, but every snap counts at that time.
How important that is. I mean, you think 5 snaps in an entire game, and you're playing for your life.
Yeah. And you're like, I go from playing 80 snaps a game to now I'm playing 5 snaps a game, and you're wanting to get a look at how I can do in live bullets. But so get cut, go home, drive a truck.
What are you thinking
for 6
driving
months.
that truck? Just like,
I'm like,
why did I leave college?
I'm like, why do I even want to go back and play football now? I'm making $1,600 a week, moving, driving this truck. I'm home every night.
Did you think you were done?
And I thought I was done.
Yeah.
I'm like, but during that time, I would still go to the gym, but the company I was working for, it was up and down out of a truck all day. So I was getting all the cardio and I was still doing the lifting.
Probably really good for you in in a not NFL rostered job.
How it worked out, now looking back, how everything transpired, you're like, wow, that was one of the best things I could have done.
Yeah.
And so then January rolls around and I get a call from John Butler. He was still the GM at the time at Buffalo, and he said, "Hey, we want you to come back to camp." I'm like, "Yes, sir." I didn't think twice again. I was like, "Yes, sir, I'll be there." But he's like, "This time it's going to be different. We have off-season workouts, so you get there in March, and you start working out with the guys." They had everybody come back at that point, and then the mini camps are still the same, but you're getting to know everybody. You're doing some drills with the coaches. You're learning, and the other thing I didn't mention earlier is the playbook. So, college, it's maybe 2 inches thick. In the pros, it's 6 inches. You got a big 3-ring binder you need your own backpack for. So you've got that. You're having to learn a new system. You got Bruce Smith in front of you, a perennial Pro Bowler. And what is it on it? What's the snap count again?
Right.
What am I doing this play? And so it's the speed of the game. College wasn't bad. The playbook was smaller. Speed of the game was slower. Now the speed of the game had gone up 10 notches. And so being there during the for the OTAs, organized team activities, what we called them, and then you had the mini camps. So going from my first year to my second year, which I was more comfortable with the guys, more comfortable with the coaching staff, everything had slowed down just a little bit. So that helped me tremendously. Plus, I had been on the cut wagon,
right?
Knowing that, hey, every practice snap counts, everything you can do, and always
you understood that more
now.
The second go around,
and at that time, Carl, Coach Mock, he was our offensive line coach. He said, "Have you ever snapped?" And I said, "No, sir, I've never snapped." He said, "Every day I want you out doing center quarterback exchange." I'm like, okay.
Was that just to see if you could do it, or to get ready, or
the more you can do is what he'd always say. Okay. The more you can do. He said, when you're in your position, the more you can do. So I was out with the quarterbacks every day from May till the end of training camp. I'd go out early with the quarterbacks, get ready to do it in the games. Never played one snap at center.
You and
Buffalo.
Doug Flutie out there practicing?
It was me and Rob Johnson, or me and Alex Van Pelt. But because Doug left the year that I started, Doug went and he was in San Diego.
Okay.
So I'm snapped. So then the new coach. So that year, we'll finish that year real quick. And so we go from that, everything slows down a little bit, just like I say at this job, and we'll get into that in a minute. Whenever you start something new and it's fresh on your mind, you're nervous, that your nerves kick in. You're
overwhelmed.
You're overwhelmed. Well, when everything slows down a little bit, you can focus a little bit more. So
the solution to get it to slow down is the reps, right? Is the stick
reps
at it.
And the studying and knowing what you're doing.
I just want to pause on that time in your life, though. When you think about, you got a lot of ups and downs here. You know, you're in college. You're going to go in the third round, declare for the draft, leave college, right? Forego your senior year, and go to the NFL. And so, hey, that sounds great. You don't get drafted. Now you're in a down. Buffalo calls you. You're like, oh, okay, well, let's go to Buffalo. And then you get cut. Then you think, I'm done. I'm going to hang up the cleats. I'm not in football. I mean, how How much was this time frame in your life of just put your head down through adversity, put in the work, and then an opportunity is going to come down the road? Handling adversity, handling rejection, I guess. Like, how impactful was this period of time in influencing you later in life?
It's what made me where I am today.
Was going through, getting cut.
Getting cut, going through that, knowing that, at the time you get cut. I didn't know you got cut. You're on the team. Well, when I'm in college, I didn't know there was a 53-man roster in the NFL. You're one of 53. There's 1,600 in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm getting released. Why are you? There's only 53 of you on this team.
So you thought you were?
I thought I was. I thought I was good. I'm
you
good
signed
to go.
a deal, right?
Signed a deal, and
you didn't know the NFL stood for not for long. At that point, right?
At that point, I didn't know that's what it stood for, and so I learned quickly what it stood for, but no, that these times, college, from high school to college, and then college to the pros, being at home that year pushing groceries, it was an eye-opening experience to how the real world worked, because you go from high school to you got a schedule, you go to college, you got a schedule, and then you go from not having a schedule. You go from having to be a man to putting food on the table, putting money in the checking account.
Yeah.
Because you were a finely tuned athlete to now they cut your legs out from under you and you're nothing. And so then, and the next year, coaching, here we go. Another coaching change comes in.
Yeah.
Go from Wade Phillips to Greg Williams, change the general manager, Tom Donahoe, and they come in. It's February of 2001, and they say, "Hey, you're going to NFL Europe."
Wow.
I'm like, okay, what's that? Never heard of this. And so, well, it's a farm league for football players, which it was, sitting here now, it was the best thing I ever did for my career. It was more about reps. You got playing time.
Well, I think that's a common trend in this whole thing, is whether it's football or later on in Globe or in anything that you're doing in life, the more you do it, the better you get. And that's right. You can't circumvent that. You can't get
quit.
around it.
So you've gone from,
and if you quit, you don't get any more reps. You'll never get any better.
That's right.
Yeah.
So go over there, play, just get through the season. Then we get there in March, fly over to Amsterdam. There was no making the team at this point. You thought you're going through what I went through. I'm like, okay, did I make the team? I even good enough to make a farm team? And so started right tackle, 10 games for Amsterdam Admirals, and we get to go see all of Germany, Scotland, Barcelona. We went all over Spain, getting to play, getting the reps, come back home, have a week off, go to training camp. So I'm full-time football at this point.
Yeah. Are you worn out? Are you tired?
Yeah, because we've gone from we got through the season in Buffalo in December, and then you have a month off, and then you go to training camp with.
And you're still practicing every day, even if you're not starting in the games, right? In the NFL, because you're on the, you're playing the other side.
Yeah, if you're not a starter in NFL, you're a scout team, because there's only 53,
right?
And then you've got an 8-man scout team. So the second and third team, the second team guys are playing their scout team for the defense.
Right.
And then you're getting also your reps in. So I'm not saying you work harder than a starter, but you're getting more reps than a starter through the week, where they get the reps on the weekends.
Right. So what's your mindset when you're tired, when your body's worn down? You're probably more exhausted than the people that got the off season down. How are you pushing yourself through those obstacles?
At this, knowing the season we had and the good reps we had, or it was good reps, the live reps as far as getting the practice. I'm coming into the 2001 season knowing this is the best opportunity that I've had, knowing how it works now, that you can get cut, then you're on practice squad 1 year, and then now this is, you got to make the best of this. So they've put their time and effort in you. So we come back, even though I was wore out, and beat up, put that all behind, because you're your own self-contractor this time, and nobody cares. So, nobody cares if you got a sprained wrist. Nobody cares if you got a sprained ankle. You can't make the club in the tub was always the saying. So we had to go. You play hurt. And so we get to the second preseason game, and Jerry Ostrowski, my good friend to this day, he's at right guard, and they have me at right guard because we had a perennial Pro Bowler at left guard. It was Reuben Brown. So we go, Jerry, we're playing Philadelphia in Buffalo. He pulls, it was a sweep play to the right. He pulls out, and Brian Dawkins takes his legs out from, I think it was Brian, took his legs out from under and broke his leg.
Wow.
So, Hulsey, let's go. And you've got to be ready for that opportunity.
Yeah.
So NFL, you practice squad, knowing the system, practice squad. Then you go to NFL Europe. You come home. You're knowing the system well that you're in now with Buffalo, and made the best of those opportunities. Made the team start at 16 games.
And then
the rest of the year.
Next 4 seasons, you're starting every season.
And then after that year, I get released from Buffalo. Then I go to get picked up by Oakland, and then 4 years in Oakland. Start 2 of the 4 years there, and then finish up in Detroit.
Yeah. So, you're putting in all this time in work when you're tired, you're hurt, you're going through injuries. I'm sure in the off season, playing in Europe, playing practice squad, playing scout team, things like that, and then all of a sudden someone gets hurt, and here's this opportunity. So you kind of mentioned it there, but how important is it for you? And you can maybe not even just here in the NFL context, but in life now moving forward for you to be ready for an opportunity before the opportunity presents itself.
And it's funny how you say that, because that's one thing that that goes back to my college coach. He was always like, you've got to be prepared and ready for when that opportunity shows itself. Don't be behind. Don't be waiting. Be ready to take that opportunity and run with it. And that's what, when I was ready, I knew I could play. Mm-hmm. The NFL Europe was the best thing for me, knowing that showed me that I could still play the game, because you're playing against guys in NFL Europe that are, some guys over there were first rounders that hadn't got any snaps, so they're seeing you there.
They're just trying to get the reps too.
Yeah. And just knowing the playbook inside and out, and then when I got that opportunity, I took it and ran with it.
But you had to be ready before the opportunity came up.
You have to be ready, and going into to playing hurt, to getting cut, to knowing this is what you want to do. I don't really know how else to answer that, but it's in life now. Be ready. Don't let something pop up and you not be ready to accept it and go with it.
Well, and if you think about, somebody listening to this right now, maybe a new agent with Globe Life, and they're running into some adversity in the field, right? Maybe they've got, in the worksite market, they've had a whole slew of business owners tell them, hey, not now, don't want to work with you, handling rejection, individual market, maybe handling some rejection. And, wouldn't you say that just by keep doing those reps, keep at it, play, when it's cold outside, when it's raining, if it snows, just keep showing up, because that opportunity is going to present itself, but you have to be ready when it's there. You can't get the opportunity and then get ready, right?
So in football, you got your reps, or you got to work harder. You got to stay after practice, and everybody would see that. I'm not going to mention who you and I talked about earlier, but you said it earlier. Just keep doing what you're doing. They're going to notice it.
Yeah.
And you're going to capitalize on that. So just like with football, when practice was over, I was still snapping with the quarterbacks. I'm going to tell that, because that plays into this great. And then we'll get off football, whatever you want to do. Sure. But going from capitalizing on an opportunity, so you go from snapping for 2 years with the quarterbacks, just no helmets on, you're just snapping the ball, then learning how to, long snap or, shotgun. I did that for 2 years solid, never played a snap of center. Get to Oakland, And my line coach at the time, he said, "You know Whitey Jordan?" I said, "Absolutely, I know Whitey. He was a coach." He said, he taught me how to shotgun snap. Did he ever teach you?" And I was like, "No, sir. I only played tackle and guard." First year at Oakland, I'm a guard. Second year at Oakland, I'm a guard and center. Start doing it in practice.
Yeah.
Then I become a starter. Jake goes down.
The center?
The center. Jake Grove, the starting center, goes down. Adam True, the backup center, goes down. Coach looks at me and he said, "Here's your opportunity." Never played it before. Again, I'm a veteran in the NFL at this time.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a 2-year-old again, scared to death. Can't say what I need to say there. But then go to live bullets in practice, and then I start 8 games.
But you've been getting ready for this opportunity.
That's exactly. The opportunity presented itself, and I took advantage of it because what a guy told me 5 years earlier. The more you can do, and always be prepared for when the opportunity presents itself, that you're ready to take it and run with it.
Yeah.
And so, just now getting back to like at Globe Life now. There's been accounts, I've been doing this 14 years now. I can't believe how fast time has flown. But accounts that I went by my first year in 2009, I signed them up last year.
Wow.
And the same for don't ever give up, be ready. And you never know when you walk into that place again, they're like, "Oh, yeah, well, the timing's right." And this job is about timing, too. Just like everything in life, it's about timing and taking advantage of those opportunities you get.
But don't be discouraged if you don't have the result right now. I think too often people get discouraged because they want a quick win. They want instant feedback, and they don't get it. Or it's negative feedback, or they lose. They don't get what they want. And so they stop doing what they should be doing because of that result, and then they end up missing all the things that could have. Just imagine if you said, why am I taking these center snap? Why am I practicing snapping for 2 years? I'm not going to be a center. And if you hadn't done that, and if you just said, "You know what, I'd rather just focus on what I'm doing," the opportunity that you had in Oakland that continued your career, you would have never been able to take advantage of it. You couldn't have gotten ready in that moment. They would have gone and found a center in free agency.
Oh, no doubt.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, first time ever you get that opportunity. And I'd been doing it for 2 years, just snapping to air, snapping to the quarterbacks, and then it happens to where you're live at it. So
it's kind of those little small things that you're doing every day that feel like they're not doing anything, just these little insignificant moments. And then eventually there's just one thing that happens, and all that sums up to give you a bigger opportunity.
And that's the small things is what we've always been taught in football. Take care of the small things because they're going to take care of the big things. Yeah. You do the small things right, the big things are going to handle themselves. And that's just like you've heard me say this as long as you've been here, but taking care of that claim or taking care of the bookkeeper question is what is the most important part of this. The selling part's easy.
Yeah.
The hard, you getting the case is hard. Selling it's easy. The hard part, and it's really not hard, it's just time consuming, is making sure deductions are right, making sure that when that person calls you and they have a claim, that you're there to help them. Because that person you're helping now is talking to their coworkers saying, "Hey, this may not be the cheapest stuff out there, maybe the cheapest, but it's legit because of who that agent is." And your insurance is only as good as your agent. That's another thing that I tell everybody, that you can have us in the room, Aflac in the room, Colonial in the room. There's some differences there, but at the end of the day, it's who you can call, who you do business with, that you get on the phone, and who's going to be there to help you.
Right.
And that's one thing that I pride myself on. And then that goes back to taking those snaps. I'm doing the little things. I can sit here and sell you a cancer policy, an accident policy, and a life policy all day long because you need those things. Those things are going to happen. But it's easier to get the person that sold it on the phone than it is an 800 number. Mm-hmm. And so that's the football helped me so much at this job, because I relate this job so much to it, because you can walk into 50 businesses and get 50 no's.
Mm-hmm.
And then you walk into one and it's like, yeah, man, why you don't have to go so in depth on that with me. We need this stuff. If my people get cancer, well, then, you go from giving a full presentation to where the owner's cutting you off saying, you don't have to sell that to me. Come on, when you want to come in. And you're like, my God, why can't it be this easy on all of them?
Right.
But over the years, you take by a cup of coffee because you know that person likes Starbucks, or you take them a $25 Chick-fil-A gift card. Hey, I know it's not the time you're going to call me. I want to stay in your mind. I want you to know that I'm still here at Liberty National. I want your business. Hope you're doing well. If you call me, great. If not, I'm going to stop back by when I'm in the area.
Yeah. That's the putting in the work when no one's looking, right? That gets to the big thing. So I guess, we kind of just quick talk about the transition from the NFL to Globe Life Liberty National Division. It was probably usually at the end of everyone's NFL career, you walk into a room and there's tables. It's like a career fair. And so you just walked up to the Liberty National Division table, and that's how we brought you over to selling insurance right out of the Detroit Lions, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much how that went.
Yeah, y'all had a convention in Atlanta, and
you just said,
like,
"Hey, I'm ready."
My agent always told me, when you're done with football, you're going to go into insurance.
Yeah.
It's the smartest thing to do. So
absolutely.
I saw y'all.
I need that agent's number. That's a great sales pitch. So I mean, what are you? You're probably like, hey, I'm going to take some time off. I probably don't need to work. I'm going to get back to work eventually. I mean, why insurance? How did you even get into this business?
But it's funny because I didn't like insurance salesmen because I'd never had one that was not pushy. I always relate them to car salesmen. They never left you alone. You need this. I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy it because the way you're trying to sell me.
It's kind of the opposite of everything you just said.
Exactly. Yeah. And so my neighbor at the time was like a leech. You know how a leech will just lock onto you and suck the blood out of you? And so we're right next door, and you know him very well, Craig Wilson. I'll go and give him a shout out. So it was me, Craig, and Tim in our subdivision.
Oh, wow.
And so at the time, I didn't...
You're sandwiched in Liberty National.
I'm sandwiched.
Yeah.
I had them, there was no way I was not getting out of this without selling insurance, or at least trying it. And so I come home from Oakland, and my wife said, hey, I met the neighbor, and I said, okay, what's their name? And it was Tim Adderholt. She said, he just got home from Oakland. Did you see him? Yeah, I saw him. I saw him in Oakland. Yeah,
it's a small town. Yeah,
small town.
Yeah.
But so that hit it, and then so I met him. He starts telling me what he does, and then at the time the lot was vacant between us.
Okay.
And I'm talking to the realtor trying to buy it because I don't want a neighbor. I had the lot on the left side of me. I wanted the lot on the right side. Well, come to find out, the realtor was Craig's brother-in-law.
Okay.
So there was no way I was getting that lot. And so anyway, long story short, got to meet Craig over the years, and I get done in 2008. October of 2008, I get released from Detroit.
So you're coming home in the off season and living here then and getting to know these guys, and then you're going.
I never met them.
You never met them, but you are living here.
I met living there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I met Tim, but see, Craig hadn't even built there at the time.
Gotcha.
So my last year in Oakland.
You live in Oakland during the season, and then you come home.
Then he started building his house.
Okay.
So then I get released. I'm cutting grass, and he said, hey, I want to talk to you. So he comes over, and we have a drink, and he said, I want to talk to you about selling insurance, working for Liberty National. I said, you lost your mind. I said, I can't stand insurance salesmen. I'm not going to sell insurance. I said, in fact, I'm not doing anything for 6 months. I'm going to hunt, relax, get my life back together, and I don't know what I want to do. So he stayed on me. I called it pleasantly persistent, and he stayed on me. So in February,
probably why he's successful.
Yeah, and then February of 2009, I signed the paperwork and hit the ground running.
And was it just walking into a business? Hey, you look like you played in the NFL. Here's my roster list, and let's go. Or did you kind of? It's just back to your. Unloading groceries in a truck days at this point, right? I mean, you're back in the grind, and you got to put in the reps in the dark when no one's looking. What was that like?
Everybody knew who I was in Gainesville, so it was anywhere I'd walk in, I just got the roster, and they said,
I'm sensing some sarcasm.
Yeah, there's a little bit of sarcasm.
Yeah.
Actually, the first place I walk in, so I go with Craig the first couple of weeks to work sites, and I'm like, this is what I can do this.
Yeah.
So the first place I walk into actually was my dentist office, and they're like, oh yeah, you can absolutely, you can come in and talk to the folks. 'Cause I'd known them, they cleaned my teeth my whole life. Didn't sell a policy.
They're just helping you out. They're being nice.
Yeah, being nice. So come in here and get you some. I took it as they're giving me reps, letting me explain what I do.
Taking snaps by yourself, right?
And I said, all right, Craig, what are we doing this week? I struck out there. He's with me. And the second place I walk into is a cell tower company, and they did it. Had 20 guys. Wound up writing like 15 of the guys, and was one of my accounts for 14 years, and they got bought out by a PEO company, and so they did their own thing. But all those guys still have their business with me on bank draft. It's one of the only stories I can say like that of the accounts that I've gotten and lost. But so you go from the walk into the dentist office, absolutely you can do it. We want to help you get started to not writing a thing, then to getting your second account and then it going great. Well, so I got like 6 accounts in a row. I was like, man, this is going to be.
I'm just going to keep closing. Yeah.
I'm like, this is NFL money here. I'm doing great, and I'm like, never knew this. Could be this good. And then here comes the brick wall. Here comes your cut.
Yeah.
Couldn't get nothing. I'm calling people. I'm having this owner of this cell tower company call for me saying you need to do this, to nothing. This just goes to crickets. And so this goes on I start in February or March, and it seems like it's for a month goes by, I'm digging into my savings account.
Did you think about quitting at this point?
I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this 2 more months.
Yeah.
Because I can go broke sitting at home instead of, trying to go around doing this. So then then that's when I got one of my biggest accounts to this day. I still have it to this day. And the owner, it took a month to persuade him or get him in. His operations manager was the one that finally said, hey, we need to do this. And then he got brought in on the 3rd meeting. But during this time, I was getting so many no's, and it was like.
But you kept coming back.
You keep going back because you can't quit. Then I revert back to football, and you're like, okay, you didn't quit, and look what a great career that wound up being. You kept chopping wood. You kept doing you kept working. This is going to work. And then I would talk to Sedge, and I'd talk to Bill, and I'd talk to Yoli, and I'd talk to all the veterans at the office, and they're like, look, you've got all the tools that if any of us that have made it a career out of it, you got Bill and Sedge who've been there 40 years now at this point, and they're saying, look, dude, you've got a football background. You're from this town. You just got to keep going and just keep working.
Yeah.
And then, Mike, it's like it started clicking, and then, you get a certain amount of business, then I get another big account. I was fortunate enough to get another processing plant. And then it ballooned into a couple of plants, and then at that point you go from knocking your head on the wall for 3 months in a row to now you've got business owners talking for you, saying not only because it's a good product, but at this point they're seeing everybody knew I was a good guy.
Right.
Everybody knew I was a hard worker because of what I'd gone through, but nobody knew how good I was going to be at taking care of you when you had a cancer claim or an accident claim or had a heart attack or stroke. And when they're investing money in you at that point on something you're selling, now they're giving you referrals. And life is still to this day. I may walk in 5 businesses this week, and you get 5 no's. So still to this day, you beat your head on the wall, but you just got to keep going and keep working.
I was going to say, how important is that work ethic that you learned pretty much through your whole life, whether you're playing professional sports, and it's not the work ethic when things are going good, right? It's easy to win, right? It's easy to get up be excited when things are going your way. How important to you is the work ethic in the challenging times, when you're cut, when it's the off season and you think I'm just going to be driving this truck, or when you've walked into 150 businesses and all of them have told you no, and you're just really questioning, why am I doing it? How important is going to work in those moments to success later on?
Those are your defining moments on the type on the type of the person, how far you're going to go in life. Because if you've got to do the grind and hear those no's, so when you do get those yeses,
that's great.
Just, you go from 120 degree heat with pads on to knowing you're better than that next player, but he's getting all the reps, but you get the short end of the stick, and then you get cut. Why did I go back that next year? Well, number one, I knew the money was going to be good.
Right.
Number two, I knew I was halfway decent at this. To getting that next opportunity, yeah. Hey, let's revisit this in a month. So it's like, and I related a lot of times to my golf game, which is garbage. Every time I go, everybody was like, "You were an NFL athlete?" I was like, "Yeah, football, not golf." Yeah. Okay, totally different. But you hit that birdie once in 36 holes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I can do that. I want to do it again. You're chasing it.
Yeah.
So going from doing the reps, doing what you're supposed to getting cut, knowing the goal of you making that 53-man roster because you know you can do it, I take that and I bring it over to, I'm going to get that account. Whatever I got to do, if I have to go back by every month for a year or 2 years, I want to stay fresh on her or his mind that they need this.
Yeah.
And so just having the no quit is
even when you want to.
Even when you want, even when it's easy. Oh, I can go sit at a cubicle and work 8 to 5, and that's what I look at now. Is like if you
could have settled. You could have settled after your, first.
After 6 months into this, I could have said, okay, I'm going to go be because I've got plenty of friends that own truck brokers companies. I could have go sat in a cubicle and we called it dialing for dollars, which is the same.
You could have sat here and said, hey, I left Clemson early and I got cut after training camp with the Bills, but you know what? I played, in 3 preseason games, and so and the story would make sense. They cut you, and then here you are.
Yeah,
but you didn't quit, and then now you have this career, and then same thing. You come to Liberty National, and you didn't quit, and now here you are. You're writing $1 million in production. You're going to write $2 million this year? It seems
like
that
far. Hopefully, but we'll see.
We'll have the retrospect episode here next year to see if it happened. But it's just like what you said. It's that don't quit. That's how you get to that next level.
Yep. Don't give up. Don't. I mean, you have to accept no at some point, but just you got to keep going back because you've got to. These businesses, all they're worried about is packing boxes and shipping stuff out and making their quota.
Yeah.
And, getting their stuff done. They're not really, you've got to find that way to bring it to them. You got to get their attention to say, hey, this is why you need this. And if you can't take no for an answer, this is not the job for you.
Yeah.
You got to be able to hear that and take it and let that fuel your tank.
Yeah.
And that's the best way I can say it.
That's great. Well, Corey, it's an amazing story. I appreciate you taking time out today and sharing it with everybody. And hopefully the listeners really were able to pull some things that I'm sure they could. There was some good things in here. So the last thing that we have on the Level Up Lifestyle podcast is we kind of have a tradition of a bobblehead. So we give every guest a bobblehead of themselves, kind of as a thank you. Unfortunately, here today, our bobbleheads are stuck somewhere in the supply chain from the manufacturer to hear the price sitting in a cargo ship off the coast of California, waiting for somebody to unload it right now. So I know those that are watching this, I think we can bring up on the screen what your bobblehead actually looks like because we'll have received it by the time this airs. And then we'll, of course, send you your bobblehead. So the viewers are seeing it before you, right?
Nice.
So,
yeah.
But, I don't know if the Raiders ever had the Corey Hulsey bobblehead night at the Coliseum or not. But you got your own bobblehead here. So if you could go back in time and kind of talk to yourself right when you were getting into everything, at whatever stage in your life that you feel it would be applicable, what's the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Keep working. Just don't quit. Just nothing. I really wouldn't. I would just tell myself to keep working, keep going, get your goal that you know you want, and keep after it.
That's great.
Is one thing I'd say, because I wouldn't. There's no, all the experiences that I've been put through. There's nothing that I would change, even though it was very trying times. But if myself came and sat on my shoulder and just said, I'm going to tell them to keep working,
It'll all work out.
It'll all work out.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has inspired you on your path to success. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. See you soon on the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast.